guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new, hello, welcome. My name is Nayeli Dominguez and I am a speech language pathology undergrad student at Utah State University. And as you can see by the title, today I'm going to be teaching you all how I study for speech science. I know how difficult it is to actually prepare for these exams, let alone have the information stick in your brain. So I really hope that you all find these tips very helpful. Something that I do want to preface, however, is that although the tips that I'm about to mention to you all have helped me succeed well on the exams, I am not guaranteeing that they're going to help you as well. You can definitely take whatever you can from this video to help you prepare for these exams. But like I said, it's not a guarantee. I am not an expert in this topic, let alone professional in the field of speech language pathology. I am just a student passing down wisdom to all of you. So I hope that you all like it though. I hope that these tips can be helpful to you in your studies. And like I said, feel free to take this as a grain of salt and take whatever you may need to help you prepare for the exams. With all that said, we're just going to go ahead and get started. So when you first begin studying, there are definitely a couple of things that you need to do first before you actually hone in on the studying itself. The first thing that you need to do is figure out how much time you have to study for this test. It's very important to have an overview of when the test is due and how long you actually have to prep for the test. Some students may vary in terms of how long it takes for them to study for an exam like this, but at least for me, it takes me about 5 to 7 days to fully master the content prior to the exam before I can go in and say, I'm confident, I'm ready to take this test, whatever may happen. And so what I like to do is I like to write down on a calendar to see how much time I have available until the test day, which leads to my next point, and that is creating a study plan. It is very important once you figure out how much time you have left to prep for the exam to come up with a study plan, because creating a study plan ensures that you not only follow it, but that you have sufficient amount of time to figure out techniques that can help you keep the information in your mind. So once you figure out a plan and you figure out how much time you have available, the next thing that you need to do is to print out any study guides or diagrams that can help you while you learn the information. So it is very, very, very important that you have diagrams to help you while you're studying, because it's very easy to memorize the information and like a flashcard, you kind of just recall it. But if your professor decides to quiz you on the diagrams, you need to be able to identify what part of the body they are talking about. That way you can have a better idea in terms of what the question is asking you, because oftentimes, like I said, they will include diagrams, but other times they won't. And when they don't, then you need to be able to have a picture of what that looks like in your mind, so that when you're taking the exam, you can reference it back and you'll know what part of the body they are referring to. So it's very, very, very important that you study not only with the flashcards, but with the diagrams as well. Finally, the most important, I feel, in my opinion, is to get flashcards. These are my flashcards that I have available, but I kid you not, flashcards is going to save your life in these type of courses. So it's my recommendation that before you even begin this whole process, that you actually go to the store and you go get some flashcards. And so it's very important that you get these flashcards so that you can begin the actual studying process. All right, so now the moment that you clicked on this video for, how do you even study? So there are definitely various ways in terms of how people study. Some people prefer to study differently than what I study. So it really just depends on the type of learner that you are. Some of the 3 key things that help me succeed well on these exams include repetitions, descriptions, like image descriptions, as well as acronyms. So repetition, I kid you not, is going to be key when you actually study for the exam. When you repeat phrases or definitions, that's going to essentially help you keep the things stuck in your brain. So here I have the deck of flashcards. Yes, it's a very big big stack. But what you're going to do is you're going to use the flashcards, you're going to write a definition on the flashcard, and then you're just going to repeat it over and over and over and over and over until it sticks in your mind. This essentially is going to be a key indicator to help you study and do well on the exam. The next thing is to create your own drawings. I ended up creating my drawings and they look very ridiculous, yes, but I kid you not, it literally helped me better understand what part of the body I am focusing on in terms of that definition. I know, for example, things like the tissues and the muscles, it's very difficult to draw something like that, but at least if it's something like a bone or a part of the body, it's like, where is this located? Then that's something that you could just draw on your own. But for the most part, creating your own little drawings is going to be much more beneficial. Of course, it's going to matter that it's a correct drawing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it's correct and it's under the lines of what you're trying to study, then by all means, your drawings are going to also be a great way for you to retain the information. The next is acronyms. Acronyms are also going to be a huge indicator in terms of how to get the information to stick. So for example, one that comes to mind that I used for my first speech science exam was every earring molds. Obviously, earrings do not mold, they rust. But I was able to remember that when it came to learning about the epithelial tissue. But that essentially helped me remember that that was a part of the epithelial tissue that I needed to remember. So they could be as silly as possible. And I ended up using that when it came time to the exam because I couldn't remember for anything in the world the exact pattern of how the layout of that particular part of the body was. So having that structure of the acronym helped me easily remember those terms. So the next one that I don't really use for this course, I use for another course that I thought I'd put in here anyways in case anyone would be interested, is to create your own stories. Although it's like you're not memorizing terms, you're memorizing a concept as a story, that essentially can help you put something like a certain structure to the memorization process to help you easily remember certain concepts. The next one that I haven't really tried is actually to self-record yourself. I've heard a lot of people say that self-recording could essentially help easily retain the information if you are an auditory learner, but I am not. I am more of a visual learner, so feel free to do what is best for you, but that's also another great option that I've heard students help them easily retain the information. And finally, the last thing that you can do while studying is to have a clear sheet protector or a whiteboard / dry erase markers. Oftentimes, having to write it over and over and over again is a great way for you to see if you actually understand the material. There are certain concepts that are much more difficult than others, so being able to have a clear sheet protector where you can write down over and over again with the expo marker, or having to use the whiteboard as a way to write it over and over again could also be a great way for you to retain the information. That's actually a new one that I recently discovered just this past exam. I was trying to learn the muscles, and my sister, being a pre-nursing major, was like, maybe you should try sheet protectors and then try it that way. And so I did, and it ended up being much more successful because my previous exam had a lot more diagrams and I had to recall where the location was, whereas my first exam was mostly just definitions and terms. So it really just depends on how well you kind of structure yourself in terms of using these techniques to help you study. All right, so the last thing that you need to do when it comes to studying for your speech science exam is the last part of the studying process, which is to quiz yourself. It is very important that you not only retain the information, but that you actually know it. Oftentimes, the definitions are very similar, and because they are very similar, you can get easily confused. I know when it came to learning the muscles of inspiration, there were multiple different names and they all did the same thing. So I had a difficult time trying to remember it that way because having to learn the muscles like that and them doing the same action was very difficult. Whereas like if you learn a part of the bone and it does one structure, then that's it, you know. So it's very important that you quiz yourself after you've done all the studying process. So the way you could do this is through Quizlet. Quizlet is actually a great platform. This is not sponsored by Quizlet at all, but I genuinely love Quizlet when it comes to these types of exams. What you could do is you could look up on Quizlet and see if there are any past Quizlet flashcards made by other students who have taken that same course. And that way you can test yourself over and over and over again, because there's this really cool feature on there where you can have practice like study tests, and it'll generate the test on your own, and it can range from up to 20 questions to like 100 questions. So I really feel like this feature on Quizlet could essentially be very beneficial to you. I know I like to do that once I'm done studying to make sure that I fully understand the material and that I fully memorized it. But obviously everyone may not have the access to Quizlet, which is totally okay. Maybe what you could do is you and a group of friends who are in the same class can like divide it in terms of the sections. That way it's not too overwhelming and then you all can study with each other. Another great thing about Quizlet is that it has I believe it has like a generator where you could compete against other people to see how fast you can do it to match the certain terms. That's also a great way to compete with yourself to make sure that you could like do it faster and faster. There was this girl who posted a video. I'll link her video down below because I don't remember her name, but she actually was a nursing major, and she explained that having to go over the material multiple times and then seeing it through a like practice exam allows for you to go through the exam much quicker. And I think that's what happens to me quite often, is when I'm actually taking the test, I'm going through it super fast because I've seen the material so many times to the point that I have even memorized it. So it's very important that you get the concepts grasped in your mind, so when it comes time to the test, you'll just easily see it and quickly identify which is wrong and which is right. The next thing, like I said, is to use the sheet protectors. The next thing is to study with a friend, or study with a roommate, study with a sister, with a brother, whoever has access to helping you study for this test. It is very important that you not only can do the information and recall it, but that somebody can test you and tell you, okay, where is this part of the body located? You need to be able to know it so well to the point that like it's stuck in your mind that you can easily say, oh, it's this part of the body. Obviously, take your time. Do not rush trying to remember quickly. I know that happens to me where I'm like, oh my God, like, wait, I know it. But it just is because I need time to think back into my really hardcore memory and just try to get it out of there. So yeah, it's very important that you have someone to test you. And if you don't, totally okay. I just think it's also a great way to help you to make sure you can see what you are good at in terms of the material and what needs more work. Finally, the last tip is to not overstress. I kid you not, from my past exam, I think I stressed way too much, to the point that I remember waking up at like 5 a.m. thinking like, oh my God, I can forget the abdominal aorta. What does it do? I swear, like I had one of those moments, to the point that like I was even waking up to remember that I wouldn't forget it. So please do not overstress. Usually professors provide study guides, and in those study guides, they will tell you exactly what you need to study and what you don't need to study. Fortunately for my course, I really love the professor and the layout in terms of how the class is. Whatever is on the study guide is what she's going to test us. She is not going to test us on anything that's not on the study guide. So that essentially helps me feel more relieved, because at least for the past exam, I tried to memorize even like where they're connected, and I remember emailing her telling her like I can't remember too much, and she was telling me to just focus on what's on the study guide because that's what she's going to test us on. So please do not overstress. Always reach out to your professors because they are the ones creating the test, and also form a study partner so that in case there's something that you're confused with, you can always reach out to them or your classmates. If there's a like discussion board where you can chat your question down, by all means feel free to do that, but do not overstress, because ultimately, yes, it's important to get a good score on these exams, but they are how would I say, like, some people may be stronger at these than others, and so please do not feel discouraged if you are struggling. I actually struggle all the time despite having to put so much work into trying to at least get a passing score. Please do not overstress, because at the end of the day, it is just a test and it does not define your ability to succeed in school and in these courses. Alright guys, so that is it for today's video. I really hope that these tips can help you do well on these exams. Like I said, they are not easy. They are in fact very difficult. So please take the time to actually try to work hard to have the information stick in your mind. Like I said, use these tips to your advantage and take them as a grain of salt. Obviously, these tips have helped me, but I know that they can also help some of you as well. I had a friend not so long ago reach out to me because she was concerned in terms of how to study for these tests because she wasn't doing well, and the tips that I told you were actually the same tips that I told her because they have been helping me a lot. So yeah, if you have any questions or if you want me to expand on anything that I mentioned, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below, because I would really like to support all of you in terms of trying to do well on these exams and in this course. So with all that said, I will see you all next time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye guys, take care.
It's hard to tell on the surface, but I think you know I'm the one. Just pray